Alright, so today we're going to start off with our social walking exercise. So in the Foundation 1 level, what we're teaching our dogs now is, particularly for those of you coming up from puppies, is we're really setting the boundaries of what the dog is allowed to achieve while they're walking on the lead. So the main thing is your dog is not allowed to hit the end of the lead and not allowed to continue moving afterwards. So the biggest thing that we need to discourage at first is if my dog hits the end of the lead, the correction chain goes tight or there's pressure on the flat collar and the lead there's tension on the lead. If you continue to walk with your dogs, the dog learns that's tight, it's uncomfortable, but I get to go where I want in the end. So the dog's learning to put up with something that's a little bit unpleasant in order to get something that they want. So that's the first step, is we need to stop continuing to walking once the dog has offered the wrong behaviour. The second part is we need to discourage the dog from going to the end of the lead in the first place. So the way that we start to do that is we'll start to deliver little pops or little corrections at the end of the lead. So what we want to teach is I hit the end of the lead, and now coming up from puppies being in class for a little while, we start to go, I've hit the end of the lead, you've done the wrong thing, we get a little pop on the collar. So the idea there is that's uncomfortable, it's annoying, but it happens when I get to this stage. When I get towards the end of the lead, the correction comes. And the dog will then learn, if I want to avoid that, I need to avoid going to the end of the lead. Now you need to give that correction before the dog has gone too far. If the dog's already rushed to the end of the lead and there's already tension, you end up pulling and dragging your dog where you want them to go instead of giving a correction. It should be a short, sharp pop on the collar, and then you turn the opposite direction that the dog wants to go, and they miss out on the reward. So the dog will learn, I will avoid the end of the lead to avoid the correction. The third part is lots of rewards for good behaviour. So we're going to be capturing points where the dog chooses to change direction with us or just chooses to walk nicely on the lead next to us. So if I hit the end of a lead and then I change direction back this way and the dog comes with me, the second the dog makes the choice to change direction, that's when I'll go yes and deliver the reward. You can reward at this stage pretty much wherever the dog is. They don't have to be right here. But definitely if they are next to you, you'll reward next to you, your left-hand side, because that's a position that over time we're going to start to build more value in. But if you're fairly new to this level, you can reward as the dog comes back to you like that. So rewards every time the dog makes the choice to change with you or when they've been walking next to you for a few steps. The last part of that is direction changes. So you want to be changing direction every roughly 5 to 10 steps, or whenever you can see that the dog's no longer paying attention to you. So if you've started walking off and your dog's just gone that way, straight away, that's where you might stop and change direction. Don't suddenly change direction and then yank the dog with you, but if the dog goes too far, I'm going to slow down and stop, and then I'm going to move back this way. The idea is going to be there if the dog has ignored you, they haven't noticed that you're no longer with them, they hit the end of the lead, they get the correction, but if they do notice, they get the reward. So the direction changes helps to build focus. The dog will start to check in with you more because they don't know where you're going. If you're going in a straight line, they figure out, oh, we're just going over there to the water bucket, I'm going to pull and drag ahead of you. But if you're going 5 steps, 10 steps, 8 steps, 5 steps, 6 steps, 10 steps, and just zigzagging all over the place, the dog's going to start to go, where are we going? Where are we going? So it helps to build more focus, and it's going to really help you out with your social walking. Now lastly, your lead handling. For the most part, your lead will be in your right hand. You will change hands and swap leads behind your back, stuff like that. But for the most part, lead will be in your right hand, and we will start to get the dog to walk towards the left. But at this stage, it doesn't matter particularly where they are, as long as they're not dragging on the lead. But try to avoid holding your left hand on the lead as well. So you'll tend to compensate for a long lead by picking up the excess in your left hand. Now what that does is you'll start to, with your left hand, you'll start to pull and drag like this. So you want to give the dog the length of the lead, but if they are walking really nicely, it's also your job to manage the lead, to adjust it, to lengthen it, to shorten it as the dog starts to offer better behaviour. And that part takes a little bit of practice as well. Who might I borrow for this one? I might
Chewy.
do a flat collar. Get a correction chain. Pops, you want a correction chain? Alright, let's use Astro. Let's go. Hey, Astro. Alright, so the lead handling that I talked about before, this is what you want to avoid. Because then you tend to steer the dog, but the main thing is that part tends to stay tight. So now the dog is learning to put up with tension on the lead. So drop that left hand. If the dog is walking really nicely next to you, just as you go, you just shorten up the lead like that. And as the dog moves away from you, you just unhook the lead. As the dog comes towards you, you'll shorten the lead up. So the way that I do this is when I make my direction change, I've hit the end of the lead, get a little correction there at the end of the lead. But if Astro changes direction with me, whoa, then as I mark yes, as the dog's coming back towards me, I'll shorten my lead up and I'll take my time to get the reward. Let's go. Yes. You want the treats? A little correction there at the end of the lead. Yes. Oh, snobby. What sort of treats have you got?
Just crunchies.
Let's go. So if the dog's not really into the food, you can just use, after there's a boy, isn't he? You can just use good boy, bits of pats, bits of tickles as you go. Hey, but you're not tangled. Let's go. Good boy. Oh, you're so good at getting tangled. Good boy.